All right, here we go. OverDrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, and up on TSN for Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan.
What's going on?
I think we could get Doogie to send an email to our friend Jerry Bettman and CC Bryan Hayes, Noodles, myself, and Pierre LeBrun for putting him on the spot at the general managers meetings, because we owe him an apology for this past weekend of hockey. He wanted rivalries. He's got rivalries, and we said we hated it, but we love it.
It's been amazing. I will say that. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not convinced 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7 would have been any different.
I'm sorry. There's no way that you could watch. How about yesterday? The great Bob Johnson said it's a great day for hockey. He was talking about yesterday. That was amazing.
It was a great day. It was a beautiful day, too. It was a great day. The Jays had a doubleheader. We'll get into that at 4 o'clock.
I'm already hate watching them. I'm hating.
It's wild, man. Gosman threw 53 pitches in an inning. I have never seen anything like it in my life.
Then he had the audacity to yell at the ump.
It's the ump's fault. Yeah. They blew a wheel, too.
I love the pitches he was complaining about. You know the box they have? They were like way outside, and he just thought that because the catcher framed them, he was like, come on, man. It's like, dude, those were balls.
Yeah. It's not good, man.
Yeah,
like the Jays. Yeah, the Jays are in a tough spot. But
they're terrible.
Yeah, there is so much that came out of the weekend. Like I have been chomping at the bit. I'm sure I can speak for the two of you to get on the air and talk about all the different things that we saw, and we will do that over the course of 3 hours. I'm not sensing panic with Leaf fans. I'm curious where you guys are at. I don't think there should be any panic. I understand the history. I understand why Leaf fans are on edge at all times. But I'm curious your anecdotal experiences. Because for me over the weekend, it was still, hey, Leafs are in the driver's seat, went to overtime. It's tough to sweep a team. Good for Ottawa. Yeah. That was my stance. I don't know if you guys have heard something different. But
no, I mean, if we all said, truth serum or whatever, I think a lot of people were like, hey, Leafs in 6, Leafs in, whatever. Yep. So when it happens to be, you're going to a 5th game, like you can't be that surprised. Like, what if the Leafs won the other night, but they ended up losing one of the other overtime games? Mm-hmm. To me, I looked at it and you're right. 3-1 is 3-1. Like you're still in the driver's seat and going home into your own building. But what it is, though, Brian, I watched you on the Jay Show. What it is the question had to be asked here. They're 1-12 or whatever it is, and I'm like, all right, but that's collective and it's over many years, and it's also this is a different scenario. This isn't a game 7. This is a game 4. This is like, to me, I just looked at it and. I'm not, I don't know how you feel, but I was happy for Ottawa. Obviously, I'm tied to that organization. It was nice to see guys have a little bit of success, but in the end, even Travis Green was measured with his comments after. He said, hey, we played well and let's refocus for the next game. He didn't go overboard or anything like that. And I thought it was a great game and great atmosphere.
It was a lot of fun. The overtime
it's the machine that wants,
right.
It's the NHL fan machine that is just like, I got to say one thing. I was on the panel with Mark Mathot and Frankie blurted out the stat in closing games, and I did the blinking meme. Like, the meme where the guy's like, excuse me?
Yeah.
I was like, is that possibly true? 1-12 in potential closeout games? That's a scary stat. But it's the machine where it's like, oh, here goes the Leafs, and the Leafs are going to do it again. And now the chatter started that the margin of error, and it's been – you can't argue that. I mean, 3 overtime games. So it could have gone either way. And I think the Leafs have done a good job in creating their own bounces and doing their own thing. What will give everyone's attention is if they drop the next one. Then you probably got a full circus on your hands where it's like, this is Montreal all over again. But this is just another step in the direction of – what I've been calling it the leafiest thing ever. And, the things in the past where you can just rewrite things and say, we don't do that garbage anymore. And you go out there tomorrow night and you handle your business and you close out the series. Because if you don't, then you're probably going to have a bit of a media circus on your hands where the questions are going to come up.
Listen, likely deserve that, right?
Yes.
Like every opinions are subject to change, feelings are subject to change. If you're a good team in the playoffs and you lose 2 in a row, people are going to poke at you, right? Regardless of what the context of the series is. If you start down 0-2, go talk to
Look at the way we were talking
that.
about the Oil after 2.
Exactly. That's it. Go talk to St. Louis. Go talk to Montreal. Like that's if you lose 2 in a row at any point in a playoff series, people are going to get up against the wall and say, "What are you doing? Like what is happening here? How did you put 2
and
losses
you're probably
in a row?"
in a tough spot.
Absolutely. So the Leafs will be no different if they lose tomorrow night. But I think if they continue to play the way they've been playing, they're going to have a very good chance of winning. And I think it's very difficult to sweep. They did not have a good start. Ottawa, to their credit, had to show up. They were desperate. They looked like it. Then they held on for dear life. And Perron scored. That was a good 8-minute stretch for Ottawa. I thought they were kind of humming a little bit to start the third period as well. And then Perron gets on the board. Ottawa had 4 shots in 40 minutes. 4 shots when they're down 3-0 in the series. And it was a great overtime. It was a fun overtime. Matthews hits the post, and that's what I took out of it from the Auston Matthews conversation that is blowing up, and we'll get into it, is it's like he's so, I don't know if he's unlucky. I was having Four Nations flashbacks. Like half the net was open there. It was wide open. Ullmark was reaching, back door, and it pops right onto Matthews' stick, and he gets checked at the last second. But right here, right off the post, like that's it. That's your moment. That's your captain. He's scored. He's done it. You swept. You're moving on, and he hits the post. That's Binnington going post to post. Like that's what it looked like and felt like to me. And those guys are separate from the rest of the team and how they're operating, including the head coach, who has not changed his tone once throughout this playoff run. Like Craig Berube is established. He's cool. He's calm. He's conducted. I think the way this team is playing, they've had really good goaltending. Their deep pairings, you have a lot of faith in them. That's the biggest tangible difference year over year. You got 3 pairings. Any of them are on the ice, you feel comfortable. And I think the best players have played pretty well. But you need to have, that clutch gene show up to push it over the top. And you're going to get another crack at it tomorrow night. And if you play panicked, then that's trouble. But if they come out, the Maple Leafs, and just play the way they've consistently played through 4 games, I don't believe Ottawa is going to beat them 4 times in a row.
When the games are this tight, you're looking for separators in a series. And you just mentioned the one guy. If you're playing tight hockey games where you're not giving up a lot of shots and you're having opportunities, that was a moment for a separator. The best player on the ice, by a lot, I think, you would think there's an opportunity there for them to close out the series. So you get it on home ice. You have a tight game. It's another great opportunity for an Auston Matthews, a Mitch Marner, or a William Nylander to be that separator and say, we're going to be the difference tonight, and we're going to win this game, and the series is going to be over. Whether it happens or not, obviously there's other different elements in the game where you're talking about goaltender making saves, and we'll get into that in a minute about some other series. But you would think that if the goaltender stays reasonably hot, and what did you say, 4 shots in 2 periods?
Yeah. Ottawa had 1 in the second that hit the net. Like they had shot attempts, but they had 1 registered shot.
So if you can keep it to that,
you would
think
your
big
you're
boys.
winning the series. Clearly,
Yeah,
that's right.
No, you're right, and there are ebbs and flows. Like to me, those games have become, and if you're watching a lot of games, you're seeing, when you're playing the same team, it becomes methodical. Right? Like it's not wide open because like the team that you're playing knows how to counter or is working on countering what you're throwing at them. So it becomes like a chess match. So, there is pockets where it's like, a penalty, maybe a power play can put you over the top. I mean, the difference in the game the other night was Ottawa killed penalties.
Yeah, that's right.
And that was the difference. Tavares gets that injury. He's not on that 5-man power play. They get 4 minutes. Ullmark gets a post. I thought there was a couple, I'll be honest, I thought Ullmark made some great saves, but there was a couple, like, Max Domi came in and took a wrist shot and got caught under his, that one went through him, and then there was another left shot that got caught under his left pad. It was right. Like there was a couple where it was like, oh my God. Like
I had a weird feeling
in.
of, like, I'm curious how, and you have a much more technical viewpoint than I do, but I have looked at Ullmark and I'm like, he's not exuding confidence to me throughout the series, yet he needed a night like that. He outperformed Stolarz. Like, that's what you were waiting for. And I was talking about it on Saturday that like we talk about this endlessly, and we're seeing it a lot in the playoffs. The goaltending position is so unique and so different from everything else.
Right.
There's systems everywhere else, and there's clutch genes, and there's bounces, and there's special teams, and the goalie. That is the one thing that can flip any series. If Ullmark comes out of it feeling positive because he got a win, and it had been a pretty long time running. He didn't win one for Boston last year, hadn't won in the first 3. He makes stops, he gets rolling, and Stolarz, conversely, has never lost a game in the playoffs. Like, it's just been positive mojo. Everything's been great for Stolarz, and he's played 4 games in 7 nights, 3 of them in overtime. He's going to start tomorrow night, of course, as he should. And, that's the one area where it may not be about Matthews or Tkachuk or Sanderson or Tanev or whatever. If Ullmark gets hot, Stolarz cools down, then you're talking a very different situation.
Well, I agree with you, Brian. But I think Stolarz didn't have his A game the other night. Like, he's gotten – in the first 3 games, he had some favorable bounces. I'll give you an example. Pinto's breakaway, that goes through him and out the other side in maybe the previous games. This one sneaks in, and Nye's almost dragged it off the line. Like, stuff like that. I just didn't think he had his A game. He didn't have a F game. There was a little bit, the seeing eye shot, the game-winning goal. That happened the other night.
He's been stopping those for 10 games
Or it
now.
hits him and, that type of stuff. But we'll see if he has a response. You're right. We'll see if Ullmark – because to me, the difference or the separator in tomorrow night's game is I think Ullmark has to steal it. Like, I think he might have to steal the game.
I agree.
Like, that might be the difference.
I think the next 2 noodles. Remember in 13 – again, it's using Leaf analogies, but the Leafs were down 3-1 against a much better Boston team. Reimer stood on his head. Game 5 and 6 to push it to 7. Freddie Anderson did that in 2018. The Leafs, same thing. They were down 3-1 in that series, and he stood on his head. Game 5 and Game 6. That's, I think, the game plan. I mean, Travis Green isn't going to say that. You're not writing that on the whiteboard. Ullmark has to stand on his head, but ultimately that is the most likely way this becomes a series is Ullmark gets red hot.
And conversely, if Stolarz has an off game where it's like, there's a lot of what ifs. But in the end,
if they're only getting 4 shots on net, that's that's an off game.
Yeah, it's a good recipe, man. Like the Leafs have cooked up a good checking recipe here.
And they blocked a lot of shots. That's the difference. Like, I don't think Ottawa's getting their shots through. Like, that's the one thing. But in the end, there's some great hockey. There was some unbelievable sports. Like this Sanders kid, I don't know. That was insane. It was must watch for me. And the fact that he got punked.
The prank call from a defensive coordinator's kid in Atlanta.
How high would that kid have to be to think that was going to fly?
Well,
I don't know why. I don't mean to laugh because I think it's crazy.
It sucks. I felt for you feel for all of it because Shedeur Sanders not the only one. There were all other draftees this year and in years past that got prank called, and it seemingly happens every single year. The idiocy of youth to videotape the prank call is, again, I'm not. No one's condoning anything, but you're so stupid if you're going to do that and videotape it for clout. And you're the son of an NFL defensive coordinator. You don't think you're getting caught? You're so stupid. It's such.
I would fire the guy. I don't care if it was his kid.
I
would fire
the DC though. How do you set that precedent? I mean, it's a prank call.
I just think it would be difficult for anybody to take him seriously moving forward, even though everyone would be like, "You're just the guy with the idiot kid."
That is valid. That's going to be tough when that kid's walking on the sideline or whatever in the future. It's going to be, is this the kid? This is the idiot that was calling up and pranking somebody. I hear you. It's awkward, but it is a prank. I mean, ultimately, it's not.
But it's a tough prank
physically
because
harm somebody.
The thing is I don't know where you lay on this. You watch this Sanders kid, I don't know anything about him, but I dislike his attitude. I don't looking at him and looking at his videos and him dancing around. I don't like him. He's become a villain already. And I've never watched him have a snap at the NFL level. He might be an amazing person. He might be an amazing quarterback, but there's this cloud over him. And I don't know if it's the family, the dad, the combination of the kid. Like, it was a wild story.
It was crazy to watch, man. Like, I've never experienced anything like it, that he kept dropping, and he overshadowed everything. Like, there was Kyle Brandt of NFL Network did a great bit on this, that Cam Ward went first overall, quarterback first overall. Nobody knows anything about that guy. That's the first overall pick. Right. Nobody cared. Nobody talked about him. No one's interested in him. No one's following him as he goes back to Tennessee. The Shedeur Sanders story completely hijacked the draft. And you look at the media members that were running the draft. Mel Kiper has lost his mind. Yeah. Lost his mind all
Dude,
weekend.
I would have guessed that guy too.
It's just absurdity. And then he gets picked, and he goes to Cleveland. And there's a part of me that just knows Deion Sanders is like, I don't want him to go to Cleveland, man. Yeah. But there's nothing you can do. You drop that far in the draft. You don't have any right to say anything. You got to show up.
Deshaun Watson mentoring memes were so
right off the bat. The Deshaun
Watson mentoring me.
They were. On point.
There were memes left and right. Tom everywhere. Wilson's face, the meme of that, like
who do you think he was directing that towards?
He said it was directed at one person, not the team, and he said, "I know exactly who the guy is, and so does he, but I'm not going to mention his name."
I don't think he would do that to Josh Anderson.
I think
he's got a mutual respect for Anderson. I think Anderson will go him. He's fought him a bunch.
Maybe it was Jack Guy, because Jack Guy was sniffing around there too. It must have been Jack Guy. Who knows?
That was insane, though, because, like, if you watch Washington's coaches, like, at first Carberry's in the way. He has to jump out of the way as they do the shuffle through the bench.
Right.
Like, it was...
Carberry said afterwards, after a loss, he's talking about it kind of jokingly. He's like, well, I was trying to walk, because you got to walk across the rink at the Bell Center, and all of a sudden these two absolute mutants get dragged onto the bench.
They're doing a two-step through the bench.
It's crazy, Wilson and Anderson. Like, the two of them are the same guy. They're monsters. They're right-shot beauties. They're great playoff performers.
Oh, I love them both, too. I thought it was good. Unbelievable.
How about the impact Wilson had in the game yesterday, where it was like he just absolutely buried that Carrier and went off the ice. That hit was like,
man, that was Wendell on Bruce Bell. Like, Carrier, he almost hit him right through the boards. That hit was so
the memes
good.
Of that.
It was like he almost is going to disintegrate after the hit, where it was.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry if you're a Habs fan, like. Tom Wilson's a big dude. There was nothing wrong with the hit. Like, it was just...
It's a great hit.
He destroyed the guy, and it was a bigger guy, and Carrier is one of those defensemen where he's not that big of a guy, and you can get your licks in on a guy that's not that big like that, and that was just... Man, I don't even know if he plays the next game after that one. Well, I don't even know what the hell would be sore, but it must be a bunch of different things.
Like him,
and they go down and score, Hayes.
Well, it was a power play. He's getting off the ice. It's 5-on-4. Like they had scored multiple goals last night where they started the transition in their own zone and just went right through the neutral zone on Montreal last night. But Tom Wilson hit the Habs into a penalty kill situation. That's what he did. That's how big that hit was. And if I'm Carrier, one thing I do is I go to Dobish and I say, you don't ever talk about me after getting hit again.
Yeah.
Because we got to play this clip. I don't know if this is a European thing. Noodles, you can speak to this.
I
couldn't believe he said what he said.
Let's hear this.
This is Dobish.
It's insane.
What he was hoping to see after Tom Wilson hit Carrier basically into a different universe.
Yeah.
I felt like it's going to be a whistle because they were in their defensive zone and far away, but I guess, as I said, I don't really know the rules. I felt like it should have been a whistle, and I mean, it was kind of a scary hit, but I guess the rules don't apply for everyone in this league. I have no idea.
I would be mortified if my goalie suggested they should blow the game down. I got hit so hard.
That's what happens in Europe. I've told you guys the story. When I played in Japan, Tyson Nash hit a guy so hard, his helmet flew 20 feet in the air. They stopped the game. They didn't know what to do. They just blew it down. They were like, what's going on? The guy was laying there, and I was like, that's a clean hit. They gave Nasher a 5-minute major, but they didn't know what for. It was for a clean hit, and that's Dobush saying, in where I came from in Europe and all these other leagues, like that gets blown down and that player gets suspended for 10 games.
Too hard. You hit the guy too hard, and I wasn't prepared because I thought the whistle should have.
Well, the only time that gets blown down is
Crazy.
if the guy just lies there motionless, and you're like, we got a serious problem here. But I don't know how he got up, man. That's just the biggest hit.
He did. But that was a Bruce Bell, Wendell Clark hit, man. Like, that was monstrous.
Yes.
And
it's one of the hardest hits in the history of the game. There's no doubt about it.
And now the Habs are chasing it.
That was Buffalo. Was that on Buff on Stone, wasn't it? Mark Stone?
He had a big one there. PK had a big one on Marchand back in the day where he just stopped them, and it was just a great hit, and it was a great game. It was a great weekend, really, for the Habs. Like, they had it. They were up 2-1 in the third period last night, and it just got away from them. And now they're chasing the series, and there's a number of teams that are doing that right now. But we're going to catch up with Kevin Sawyer later this hour on the Hellebuyck story in particular, but also the Jets as they fly home for Game 5. How do they regroup? Where do they go from here? We'll get into what happened in Edmonton last night and in Edmonton over the weekend in general. Just a crazy, crazy scene. And that series is tied at 2. Heading back to LA, and
You're asking for it, LA, man. You're asking for it.
Well, I agree. I have a 5-pack. I got an underpant cam 5-pack coming out of the weekend for you guys.
Jim Hiller's got
Hiller's on there. I'm going to tease it. Hiller's on it. He's absolutely on it. So I'll get to that a little bit later. You guys tell me when you want it. It's locked and loaded, man.
I'm ready for that type of business at any time.
Anytime. You can drop that anytime. We can be a commercial, and you cut off the commercial and say, I've got this list.
Okay.
If
you want an underpant cam 5-pack, I can get to that this hour. I'm happy to do that.
I'm thinking maybe like around 6:40-ish. I don't know if we have anything.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I had planned. I was thinking maybe a 6:30.
I've also got
that's
something
a little long,
I should have
got
to you guys earlier. But instead of the deservo-meter, I wanted to do the gonna-win meter. You got to predict, Hazy, every series, and the gonna-win meter, who's going to win.
Okay.
I'm sure you've got a feel and a vibe for all the series
I like
right now.
I like it. All right, let's come back and maybe rapid-fire some of that. We got Bruce Boudreau coming up, Mike Sullivan out in Pittsburgh. You got Nico Harrison, maybe the happiest guy on earth because Luke and the Lakers are down 3-1. We'll touch on that. Yeah. And the Jays are off. They're at home with the Sox in town tomorrow. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bruce Boudreau coming up in about 40 minutes. We'll get his take on the core 4 going into Game 5, how he feels Matthews and Marner are playing, what he thinks of Stolarz, playing in his 5th game, and where that's going in terms of the Maple Leafs and the Ottawa Senators, among other things, including what we saw in Edmonton last night, which was just a crazy finish, crazy overtime, crazy post game. Get Brucey on the Jim Hiller chat, and there's a lot to get into with Bruce.
LA Kings, man, it's like you had them, like you just had them, and you let them off. I'll give you a lot of teams credit, man. St. Louis Blues, LA Kings, like they're not dying. They're just like, if we're gonna go down, we are gonna go down swinging so hard. And to have that puck and not get that thing out, like
Byfield, man, I can't believe he didn't get that puck out. Like, I was sick for the guy because he had so much time and space. He chips it in the middle of the ice. The game's over.
Anywhere, dude. There's 85 feet there.
Yeah.
You got to give Bouchard credit because it's a ballsy move, man. Like, that guy, regardless, he could be the most fascinating player in the league, Bouchard.
Yes, I totally
Would you agree with that, Hayes?
I thought the same thing, Noodles.
Because that guy, his give a you-know-what meter, when he has the puck sometimes, like that was it. Whose breakaway goal where him and Nurse are just waving at that thing and it's casual back and it's breakaway and like
how many times do you think the coach says don't pinch there, don't do it? Oh, great goal.
But then
he's a fourth forward, man.
But he literally he makes plays, and the best thing about him might be the worst thing about him when you look at it is the way he treats. Like he's not overwhelmed by the situation. He's like, oh, I'm going to try this here, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, like you could go back to Game 1. McDavid goes crazy. They tie it. They fire it out about 4 feet. They chip it out. He goes to wave at it at the blue line to keep it in. LA goes down and scores the game-winning goal. Like all he had to do was pull out of the zone, and they're going into overtime. That's it. But he's like, I'm going to wave at it. Like he's a risk reward. But I come back to it. He might be the most fascinating player in a case study to watch because the guy's got 4 goals.
I think
in 2 games.
Probably is, man. Like I'm watching him and Nurse last night. They're a -3 right off the bat.
Yeah,
and I'm thinking this pairing should be studied in a lab.
Well, how many pairings, Hayes? You played defense. When you're -3, it's kind of like, check, please. Maybe we just suck tonight. Then they just roar back and do these outrageous things.
It's amazing. No one gets their shot through with more, I would say, purpose than Bouchard in the league. You know, like he is. You look how he scored that goal, the tying goal. He gets something on it. He finds gaps. He gets through traffic, and he
picks corners.
He picks corners. Yeah. That's what he does. He picks corners. He never fans on shots. Like he always gets it off. He's brilliant at it. He's the Alonzo Mourning meme. Like how many times has McDavid been like, okay, there we go? Because defensively, it's a disaster. It is, and this is why. And I'm getting off the beaten path because I was watching it and I was fascinated with him last night. He has no chance of playing for Canada. He'll never play. I don't believe he'll ever play for Canada because they'll look at the other stuff and say, I can't do that. I can't have the guy playing 2-on-1s the way he plays 2-on-1s. I can't have him.
Well, if he didn't play for Canada this year after the playoff he might not never
Mini
play.
Jerry, I'm 0%.
See, I might disagree with that, and here's
Go
why.
ahead.
Because who is in the one spot offensively? Makar, right?
Yes.
So he's not going to – but I still think if they have a partner that plays with him, he looks a lot different with Ekholm. Like, that's the thing. If you have a stabilizing
maybe a
force
Morrissey Bouchard?
That's all I'm saying is that
I'm
if
not
you have
getting
somebody
off my Mini Jerry, man. He's just too unpredictable and too infuriating when it's going the wrong way, Noodles. I guess is my point. Like, you see him waving sticks and playing 2-on-1s, and you're like, I can't believe this guy plays defense. I can't believe this guy.
But we saw it in the playoffs last year. How good was he when the chips were down? Now, maybe these last couple games will ask him to get his head out of his rear end at certain times. But, I understand 100% what you're saying. I just think he's a fascinating case. Because if you look at it, like maybe Drew Doughty, he might be too old. You know, there might be other guys. Maybe Pietrangelo isn't in the mix or whatever. Like, there might be, again, who knows? If they lose in the first round and he's part of doing what they do, you're right. It's probably just a 0%. But he is a fascinating case where it's like, you might have a guy that, you know, if he continues to grow, like it's not like he's 30 years old either.
No,
like
he's a young player, and he's got stones, he's got courage, he plays with no pulse, he goes out there and he scores.
I just don't know if that's brains or ignorance or calmness or everything. I don't know what it is.
Combination of everything, you know, and you got to have the skill and you've got to have the ability and you got to read plays, and he does that. But the story of Bouchard, the story of that pairing is just a wild one. And like if you've been watching the 4 games, like the 3 of us have, 50% of the series, Edmonton looks like a lottery team.
It is. They don't care.
They look
like they're
horrible.
just skating around out there.
I know. Well, part of it is what's going on in net, but the giveaways and the odd man rushes. Like, did you see McDavid shaking his head at that Fiala, knocking it out of the air?
Yes.
He was like, what the hell is this, river hockey?
Well, he's looking back at Bouchard going, why are you trying to make a play there? You just dump it down to us. We're down here.
But to Hayes' point, it's like for 40% of the game, it's amateur hour out there, AHL plays, and then all of a sudden, Draisaitl and McDavid put like these booster jets on, and it's like, okay, there's no one has an answer for that. McDavid, there was times where I'm like, that's the fast, and I said the same thing last year. He's skating faster than ever. Like when he cranks it up, it's like you're just not stopping that. That's
you have to take a penalty. It's the only way to stop it.
That's it.
When he comes around the net, and they do a very good job of leading him. You know, like it's not sitting there waiting. They come out behind the net and they like push it almost up to the dot. And he gets flying. It's in your zone. You might as well start in your zone. You might as well just drop back and say, bring it in, and we're going to be prepared. Because you can't stop him unless you take a penalty. But it's just been a remarkable series because I understand why Jim Hiller, the head coach of the Kings, is so frustrated. It could have easily been a sweep. Like they had it. They had the series. They were up 4-3 in the third, or going into the third in Game 3. They had the game last night.
Their goaltender, I will say, Darcy Kemper. Like if you looked at the analytics last night, LA gave up 33 high danger chances. I thought Kemper was unreal. Like
up
he
for
was
the Vezina. That was announced today.
And
Hellebuyck, and Vasilevsky.
It should be, but like the one thing when you look at the difference between the two goaltenders, like Pickard. I didn't love the Trevor Moore goal yesterday, but he made a couple great saves at right time. Like he's an unmade bed in there, but he battles, and I think the team respects that. Did you see when Draisaitl scores that goal, McDavid goes beelining back to Pickard?
Right.
Like you look at, like there's something there where they play for that guy. I don't know what it is. It's like they're
not going back now.
There.
They're not going back now. That is for sure. All right. Speaking of goaltenders, we'll come back with Kevin Sawyer in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Hellebuyck pulled in back-to-back games, and the numbers they're staggering. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Like they're unbelievable numbers. What he's doing, like the saves above or below expected, everything across the board is really ugly for him. And he spoke today. He speaks with confidence. He's up for we know he's going to win the Vezina unanimously. He might win the Hart, but it's 2-2, and St. Louis is stormed back and. They're coming back to Winnipeg, I believe, on Wednesday for Game 5. So Kevin will join us to chat about where we go from here with Hellebuyck and company. Bruce Boudreau coming up. We'll get back into the Leafs as well. Start looking ahead to Game 5. Get his take on what we can expect tomorrow night. How important it is for the Leafs to close tomorrow night. So Bruce Boudreau coming up in about 25 minutes. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. Something to chew on, brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. This playoff season, Boston Pizza planning the parade and has a new all-star playoffs menu for you to enjoy. For pizza, pints, and puck drops, visit your local Boston Pizza today. We've been asking because there were so many different options. And naturally, because it's online, people are very, very understanding and just willing to go along with things as opposed to writing in other options and saying that they're bothered by the ones we supplied. I don't know if you're picking up on my sarcasm or not, but here we go. This is what we've been asking. What was the biggest moment from this weekend Stanley Cup playoffs action? Hellebuyck's struggles, Wilson's monster hit, or the Landeskog goal in Game 4, which was incredible to see. They're actually really close. Hellebuyck's at 40%. That would get my vote. I mean, this is a guy who has put forth two of the great seasons we've seen in a long, long time, like back-to-back years, and this year in particular. And you look at him, he gets pulled in back-to-back games. Did he get pulled at all season?
He might have.
Probably should have looked that up.
I'd have to look. Yeah, we could look. But I mean, back-to-back, like he hasn't been very good. The team has been out to lunch as well, too. Like they gave up, what was it, 12 goals in 2 games. Like, and uncharacteristic plays, like turnovers.
And the guy's been junk in St.
assignments.
Louis, Jamie, but how many they scored? They got 1 yesterday. So it's like,
yeah,
he's got to be the guy leading the charge, but there's a bunch of other guys. Like, we talked about Winnipeg possibly getting an upgrades, and I don't know what happened with that, but if their top guys aren't scoring goals, it's like, nothing. They got to figure it out quickly.
They need that Velarde back on power play, and apparently he was a game time yesterday, so it looks like he'll probably play at home. And they need to protect some. Like that Luke Shen looked like he was 420 years old the last 2 games. Like you can't protect him on the road. Like that's again, I'm singling him out, but there's, they did a hell of a job on Scheifele too. Like they
credit
beat the
to St.
hell out
Louis.
of him. Like,
credit to St. Louis for sure, but the
Hellebuyck's
whole house
gotta
of
be
cards falls, man, when Hellebuyck isn't playing well.
Hey, when they're talking about
let's
winning
be
Hart
clear.
trophies and stealing games and
I don't
being the
care
main
about
guy.
the 6th defenseman or Gabe Velarde or whatever. If Hellebuyck is going to play the way he's playing, they're toast. They're done. Yeah. Because the fact is, in my opinion, they're a very good team. They're a great team because of him. Like this is not. This top to bottom, this roster is not like some unbelievable, I can't believe how talented they are type roster. What puts them over the top is they got a goalie who's absurd and is the best goalie in the league. And if he's not going to be that, they're in big trouble. Here's a guy that's very familiar with that, Winnipeg Jets commentator. Here's Kevin Sawyer joining us here on Overdrive. Kevin, What do you make of Hellebuyck? I mean, how do you put this into perspective, the fact that he's been pulled back-to-back games, and now I'm sure a lot of people in Winnipeg buzzing about his playoff history the last few years in general?
Yeah, it is hard to describe, and the reason I say that is, you know, as good as he's been all season long, this year his team in front of him has been rock solid. So there was games that he stole, but he didn't have to steal games very often. And his team in front of him at times would break down, and when they did, they're used to him making that save to bail them out. So the second goal against in game number 4, he makes that save 10 times out of 10. To me, yeah, was there a bit of a screen? Yeah, kind of doesn't block the shot. That's a save he normally makes. So I think that the team lost confidence because it's unfamiliar territory that Connor Hellebuyck underperforms. And we're not talking about one goal here. We're talking about 12 goals in the last 2 games. So hard to explain. What I can tell you is I'm really happy to hear the comments that Hellebuyck made today. He said he needs to be better. Not often does he say that. It's the truth, and I think that takes pressure off of him and his team. It's the truth. Everybody knows it. So he owned that. Then he went on to say, I will be better. It's a confident dude. At times I used to think when he was younger he might be a little arrogant. It wasn't arrogance. It was just a deep belief. He's got that, and he's going to have to use that because he knows more than anybody else. He hasn't been close to the level that he needs to be.
So, Kevin, what do you see? I mean, you and I worked the panel yesterday. Is there some magic potion, or, you know, to go, okay, the goalie starts making saves and the team help out? Like, is there, if you start with one thing, it just says, okay, the goalie needs to play better. Where does it go from there? I mean, what have you seen outside of, you know, him just giving you the big save at the right time?
The neutral zone for me is where this series is being won. And I give a ton of credit to Jim Montgomery. He is not only game planned properly against Winnipeg, and here's what I'm seeing. And the Winnipeg Jets have been the winning team, the most winning team because of some of their parts. They're not really studs in any one area, but because they play such a good team game, they were the best. But if you look at their skill, Kyle Connor, Cole Perfetti, Ehlers isn't in, but when he is, Vlad Domestikov, they're not big. They're not big, so you've got to get on the body, and it's clear to me that Jim Montgomery and the St. Louis Blues have targeted that. We saw what they did to Mark Scheifele last game. Well, you can't hit, you can't finish, you can't forecheck if you don't control the neutral zone. That's what the Blues have been able to do for, I would say 9 of the 12 periods played in this series so far. And when the Jets, game 4, first period, they shut St. Louis down. That was a good adjustment from Scott O'Neill. And then Jim Montgomery goes into the first intermission, he readjusts, and they find a different way to get through the neutral zone, to chip and smother, whether it's chip and pound them through the boards or win the battle down below the hash marks. The Blues are finding different ways to get through the neutral zone and keep the puck in the offensive zone. It's taking the speed out of the game for Winnipeg, and it is forcing the Winnipeg Jets to have to spend extra time in their zone, which they're not used to doing.
Guys, I just want to go back to Hellebuyck. You guys were both on the panel. What could it be about playoff-style hockey? Is it pace? Is it simply nerves where a guy could be so dominant during the regular season and now 2 playoffs in a row, his level of play is being questioned? Like, is it a pre-scout by St. Louis where they know where to shoot the puck? Or, like, what the hell are we talking about here? Because this is the second year in a row where you're like, best goalie in the world by far, and then it's like, what have we got here? How could the playoffs change things so much?
Noodles, you're the pro. I'm confused to some degree. I'm not seeing any one area that Hellebuyck is breaking down in. It's uncharacteristic. So goal number 3, Shen, he goes to the net. Yeah, he got to the middle of the ice way too easy, but Hellebuyck normally would just challenge that shot. Instead, he kind of panicked, in my opinion. He throws the paddle down. I get what he's trying to do, and he gives the top of the net away. Shen's good enough to make that play in tight. Shots from range, from the point. We're seeing the Blues shoot from everywhere. Why wouldn't you? I can't explain why the best goalie on the planet is looking like he's at times guessing a little bit. It's shots from everywhere, in tight, from range. Yeah, there's been some tips off of Pionk's back. Nothing you can do there. But pressure is real, and nobody is exempt from that. And Connor Hellebuyck knows as much as more than anybody else that his numbers have been overwhelmingly good in the regular season, and the opposite is true lately in the postseason. That factors in, man. That's in your head, and he's carrying that. The only way to make that go away is to get results. I just wonder a little bit about the pressure and some new types of pressure that Connor Hellebuyck has to deal with.
Well, so if you want to, I'll be quick with this, but you look at game one, he gets beat 3 times, they win. I thought he was a bit deep and tentative. So what do you do? Game 2, I thought he was more aggressive, and he did take a step towards the puck. Games 3 and 4, he looked tentative, and I thought they exposed his lack of lateral movement. Now, he's a big guy who sets himself. And then when he sets himself, he expects everybody, I've got the shot, you got everything around. The prime example I could point out to in yesterday's game was goal number 5. Yes, we can throw shade at Kyle Connor for turning the puck over in the offensive zone and then getting beat up the ice. But if you actually look what Robert Thomas does, he dekes to his backhand. Hellebuyck just goes down. He doesn't adjust to it. He doesn't push into it. He doesn't try and desperately throw himself at it. He goes, hey, I'm going to get walked around here. I go down. I've got my angle. I'll need Pionk or somebody else to help with the process. To me, I think he needs to really dig in on plays. And it's not about style points. It's about being desperate and making these saves. And that's the only thing I've noticed differently with Hellebuyck is that maybe his lack of athleticism sometimes is getting exposed on plays where there's lots of motion and tight.
Yeah, well, if that's the case, then it's not going to get, every team's going to try to apply the same game plan.
You're right, but it's up to their D. They play a certain way in front of him, and if they play to that structure, then it goes hand in hand. He's a great goaltender in a lot of different facets. I just see when there's these breakdowns, he's getting opened up.
Yeah, it's a goofy transition no matter how you slice it to say Vezina, possibly Hart, and now we're talking about lateral movement being an issue. It's just that it almost doesn't make sense.
Man.
Yeah,
it's terrifying.
I'll tell you this, guys. The one thing that isn't going to change is this game plan. Whether it's the St. Louis Blues, and if the Jets can continue deep into the playoffs, this is what's coming at them. And I think teams that had success against this Winnipeg Jets group in the regular season are the teams that kept it simple and put the puck behind the D and just simply tried to be out-physical them. And that's what's happening. So get used to this, because this is not going to change. You're playing out against a team that's not overly big, not overly imposing. And you know what? We haven't talked yet about Mark Scheifele, but if they're going to pull this thing back, they need Mark Scheifele, who I think is the most important player, above Connor Hellebuyck, to find a way to get back in the fight. You're going to get hit, but are you going to hit back? And that's, to me, what they have to prove next.
Well, it's 2-2, and Game 5 coming back to Winnipeg. It's going to be something on Wednesday night. He is Kevin Sawyer. Really appreciate you doing this, Kevin. Enjoy the rest of the series. We'll do it again soon.
Right on. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
You got it. All right, let me throw out a reluctant Mini Jerry. All right? Mini Jerry.
Reluctant means it's going to be an absolute bomb of a comment.
Hellebuyck gets shelled and pulled Game 5. Eric Comrie starts Game 6.
I'd say 3%.
It's not 0% for Noodles.
Dude, it's 0.
Well, it should be 0, but I mean,
should it be though? I mean, if the guy, if you're looking at, let me get. I'm going to be low on this too, 10%. But if you're Scott O'Neill and you look at this guy and you look at the rest of your players on your team, you're like, he doesn't have it, like the pressure or whatever it is. Don't you owe it to the other players to be like, we might have to make an adjustment here, man.
How about you say get your head out of your asses to the players in front of them, because it's not like
I guarantee that's happening.
They've been outscored 12-3, Brian. It's not like this isn't Edmonton. This isn't Edmonton where they're scoring 5 and giving up 6.
Okay,
this is
they spotted the best goalie in the world,
building.
a 2-0 lead. He's been pulled twice. I understand it's not perfect, and the other guy, and
right.
O'Neill's yelling at the other guys. He's not talking to Hellebuyck. He's saying, you go do your thing.
Right.
I'll take care of these guys. He's doing that.
Let's hear your percentage.
I said 10%. I'm low too, dude, but it's not 0, man. This guy, it's not a one-off. Like, his stats in the playoffs are
right.
It's unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it. The guy's a Superman in the regular season, and in the playoffs, the numbers.
Yeah, you play the same team over and over. They're going to start to pick away at you. I think I should be at 0, but I don't have faith in the guys in front of him. That's the thing. That's why I'm at 3%, is because that team is missing 2 of their top 6 forwards, which they desperately need, which, Ehlers and
Velarde, yep.
And to me, like, they've had a tough time scoring in those games. Scheifele was a beast in games 1 and 2.
Yep.
They ran him out of the building in games 3 and 4 physically.
That's not going to stop.
Well, you know why, Jamie? Because they said this. That guy is the only guy that's making anything happen offensively.
100%.
Let's eliminate him from the game plan because no one else is doing squat.
The 2 most important people they've ran out of the building, Hellebuyck and Scheifele.
Mm-hmm.
That's good for Jim Montgomery and his group, because they're like, Montgomery's had some great adjustments. O'Neill has to have some adjustments too. He's got to figure out. Now, you got home ice. You get your last change. You can shelter some guys. But I'm fascinated to see what happens Wednesday. They've got a couple days off here to live this down, right?
Yeah,
so
I am too. And listen, I'm pulling for Winnipeg and Hellebuyck. I want to see him. I'm not anti-Hellebuyck or anti-Jets.
Hayes, side bet, we got to pay up. It's a hunch.
Okay.
After the next game, I'm saying Game 5, Helly, the number 1 star of the game, the best player for a hunch. And you got to pay up on national television.
Okay, so I just get the field. You have Hellebuyck, and I have everyone else playing.
Yes,
it's either Hellebuyck's not good or Hellebuyck's the best player.
No, you said first star.
You said first star. So you're saying he'll be the best player on the ice, and I get everyone else. Is that what you're saying?
How about I change? I'll just say this: Hellebuyck dialed in for Game 5.
I'm not going to root against this guy or bet against this guy. I mean, I'm not anti-Hellebuyck. I want to see him do well. I'm just stating facts, man. Like, the facts
We're just talking about they're giving up 12 goals in 2 games. Like that.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been good. And last year and the year before, I mean, again, this is, and it's a bigger issue that needs to be pointed out. That Winnipeg, this is what we talked about all year. You got to prove it in the playoffs.
Dude, that's it. You're not a playoff performer, just like the Maple Leaf players that we talk about on a daily basis.
Man.
You're not game breakers and playoff guys until you do it.
Exactly.
So until you do it, you're a regular season hero. So the option's all yours.
Precisely what it is. And you have it's right in front of you to change your own reputation. It's right in front of you. Hour 2 coming up. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.